Hi, my name is Liz Isaacs from Housing Innovations, and I'll be presenting on the Introduction to the Balance of State, Continuum of Care. And this is an update from a webinar that was conducted last year. So what are we going to talk about? I'll give you a little bit of background on CT-BOS. We'll do an overview. We'll do some updates, talk about our key partners, and finish with resources and webinars that you can check out. So as I mentioned, we did this training about a year or so ago, and it's a much fuller and longer training, and that can be found using this link, and it's on the CT-BOS website. So the purpose of today is for me to just provide what's new, what happened in the last year that you need to know about, but definitely check out the much longer intro to COC, much more complete version of kind of a BOS 101. This is important if you want to know what's happening with BOS. A great thing to do would be to sign up for BOS emails. You can use the link that's here, and then you can choose which listserv you'd like to join. So if you want to hear about what's happening with grantees and get grantee communication, you can check those boxes. You can also find out what's happening with the steering committee. Your choice. It just helps us know who to send it to and where to send it. And then if you don't want the emails any longer, you can hop back on the website and take yourself off, or let us know if you'd like to be taken off. But we do ask people to sign themselves up so you get to choose which emails you want. So we're going to talk about the overview of CT-BOS and give you a little bit of history. So CT-BOS started back in 1999. It started with Themis and the Corporation for Supportive Housing being instrumental in setting up CT-BOS because there were places in Connecticut that were not claiming the COC money. HUD gives each jurisdiction a certain amount of money that they can apply for. And Connecticut was not applying for all the funds they could have. So they came together in 1999, pulled in these areas, started with just a few areas, a few $1,000s to request. And throughout these many years, other areas have come together and joined, and we had about 13 COCs in the state at one point in time, then lots of mergers into CT-BOS, and currently we just have 2 COCs in the state. So we have CT Balance of State and ODFC, our Fairfield County friends. So CT-BOS is the entire state minus Fairfield County. So CT-BOS funding, as I said, it has grown immensely over these years. So we have about over $57 million annually in funding. And I won't list all of these activities, but a lot of different activities. And I'm going to show you on the next slide what that looks like. So in terms of the distribution, you can see that the overwhelming amount of funding goes to permanent supportive housing at about 64%. And next up is rapid rehousing. And then you can see other things like outreach and transitional housing, supportive services, coordinated entry is funded, HMIS. So this is what it looks like at CT-BOS. So this is a point in time count of homeless persons, and it shows from 2020 through 2022. I will tell you, we do not have the information yet from this count. That will be out in the next coming months. So you can see that there has been a growth in folks in emergency shelter. Transitional housing has stayed pretty consistent. The unsheltered number has been reduced from 2020 to 2022. And then you can see totals overall, which do show a growth in the point in time count of people experiencing homelessness. This gives you a little snapshot of what's happening in terms of populations. So you can see that chronic persons, that number is down, and that's really important and a great thing. You can also see that family homelessness is up from 20, and this shows us starts actually at 2019. So from 2019 to 2022, you can see that growth. We talk about key findings just from one year to the next. There was an overall increase in homelessness from 2021 to 2022. There is an increase in emergency shelter utilization. And as I mentioned, there's a decrease in chronic homelessness. And then there was also a decrease in unsheltered homelessness. So I'm going to give you some updates. What's new? What's happening? So a great thing that's been going on is we've been able to increase the number of people with lived expertise on the steering committee. And so now the steering committee has up to 8, what we're calling community reps. And that's people with lived experience of homelessness. Two of the reps are for people with lived experience that are under the age of 25, and we refer to them as the youth community representatives. Community representatives are elected every year, and elections are coming up. If anyone's watching that wants to submit an application, you have until the end of this month to do so, and there are links to both of those applications on this page. Also, this year, we have a new cohort in our Consumer Leadership Involvement Project. And the goal of CLIP is to increase the quantity and quality of involvement of persons with lived experience in BOS. And the Corporation for Supportive Housing coordinates these activities. They do focus groups, trainings, and really want to ensure that their people with lived expertise are included in the structure and, importantly, in the decision making. As I mentioned, we started a new CLIP that happened in the fall of 2022, and these are the folks that are new CLIP members. All right, I'm going to talk about some policy updates. So we have done some grievance policy updates, and generally some of the changes include cleaning up some of the timeframes for when consumers need to grieve, clarifying the process for canned grievances, making sure that the grievance policy aligns with the statewide rapid rehousing operations guide, clarifying and updating renewal evaluation grievances when providers have an opportunity to grieve their renewal evaluation scores, and then adding a grievance policy notice for participants. So COC funded projects and CANs are required to document that they're providing this notice of the ability to grieve to people at both at entry and at least annually, and then they are required to review the content with participants so that folks understand what their rights are under the grievance policy. We also updated the Bill of Rights. We just made it shorter and easier to read, and this talks about people's rights being protected, to not be discriminated against, to not be denied services. I won't read through the whole list. And as I mentioned, we just simplified what was happening here. And we just want to make sure that people who are applying or are participants in programs understand what their rights are. We also made an emergency transfer plan notice. So there was already an emergency transfer plan in place. But what we did is clarify and set into process that all CANs or COC and ESG funded projects are required upon application, entry, and annual certification to make sure that people know what their rights are under the emergency transfer plan, and to provide an easy to read notice so that people can have that in place also. And we provided a sample that folks can use. And then we made sure that there was a way to make sure that participants were getting the Bill of Rights, emergency transfer, and grievance information. And so there is a acknowledgement of receipt, and we have a sample form. Providers don't have to use this form, but they are required to make sure that all 3 of these notices are provided to program participants. Another change in governance was that Reaching Home Coordinating Committee used to serve as the COC board, and that has changed. And now the COC board is the CT BOS Steering Committee. And changes are outlined if anybody wants to read the governance charter, but that was our big governance update this year. Monitoring updates. So there are no BOS COC projects monitoring this year, only DEMA's rental assistance projects. PATH will continue to be monitored. And there's new emergency response section in the monitoring guide. So we want to tell you good news on some funding this year. So the 2023 NOFO awards, HUD was the HUD COC Award provided funding for all of the renewal projects. So there were 97 projects, over $46 million in renewal awards. And again, we talked about this earlier, mostly in PSH, which is 70 projects and over $33 million. And then you can take a look at the other funding. Also, continued good news, all new project applications were fully funded, including new projects and expansion projects. There were 13 projects in total, over $4 million. So in addition to the NOFO, this year we also had what we call the SNOFO, the Special Notice of Funding Opportunity. And good news here, over 3 years, BOS will receive over $18 million. And this will fund street outreach, PSH, coordinated entry, and a planning grant. The bulk of the award is in, it's actually split between street outreach and PSH, actually in a large coordinated entry grant as well. And you can see the subrecipients here. And we're just really, really excited at this prospect of this new, not prospect, we got it, the new award. And finally, sorry, don't want to leave out our rural friends. There is a rural PSH project, and Housing Collective will be the subrecipient, and the grantee will be Demas. So we're going to talk a little bit about the partners within the COC. Who do we work with? So as I mentioned, the steering committee is the COC board. So I won't read everyone's names, but you can see we have 4 chairs, and we have representatives from the Coordinated Access Network, from the CANs. As I mentioned earlier, we have community representatives. We have folks from different state agencies, from other not-for-profit agencies. And the steering committee works to make all the important decisions that happen in CT BOS. And to break it down a little bit, you can see these are the CAN representatives. So each of the 6 CANs in balance of state are represented here. And each year, the CANs register their representative. So they decide who the representative will be, and then they let us know. Community representatives are elected each year, and those are coming up, as I mentioned, in June. Applications are due at the end of September. And these are the current folks serving as community representatives. I'm going to provide what I hope are some additional helpful resources. So check out these websites. We have a lot of information out there. We also just put up an acronym guide on our website to help with all that alphabet soup that we use each day. If you're wanting to learn more, you might check out our training page. We have a lot of trainings, and they're recorded and have the slides available. CCH has a host of really good trainings also. If you need to see what's happening with HMIS, that's available. Demas has terrific trainings. The SOAR training is online if anyone's looking to get involved in that and see what's happening there. And I won't read everything else, but they're really good trainings. So check them out in the areas you might be interested in learning something about. And I just wanted to make sure folks had this really for providers, but anyone can take a look at this, kind of the local requirements. So if you're looking for some light reading on compliance, you can check out our BOS page. You can see the Demas Rental Assistance Guide, YHDP, or HMIS. I did want to highlight this because we have an updated statewide rapid rehousing operations guide, and this was originally released in 2022 and has been updated. And some of the changes include definitions and provide just different examples of how you can do your work with rapid rehousing. Wanted to just make sure people saw the monitoring guide and have a link to that. It's on our resource page. As I mentioned, we have a new section in there. So on emergency preparedness, so check that out. And finally, this is the CT BOS team at Housing Innovations. Please feel free, I'm there, as Liz Isaacs, reach out to us with any questions, any concerns. And as I mentioned, check out the original intro to the COC with that link, and it's on our website, which has kind of a much broader more complete introduction to BOS. Thank you so much. Look forward to working with you.